Because I always thought it was funny how he says something about that under there, and then he goes, and now I made you say underwear. I always thought that was a pretty brilliant line.
Hey, welcome to a Thursday Collection Connection, where we're playing the game. It's just an excuse to talk about records. Play the game with my brother, Plastic Eric, from the Plastic Soundwave Cult, and you can play along, follow along, by subscribing to both channels. In Eric's last video, he talked about the crystal method, tweakend. A lot of people know the crystal method, but not a lot of people know what the crystal method is, and that is turning brown eyes blue. Not a lot of people know that. Anyway, my only familiarity myself with the crystal method is the fact that they did the theme music for the TV show Bones, which I used to watch some back in the day. Overall, this sort of club electronic music is not anything that I ever fully gravitated to, just because I still like corners on my pop songs, and the loops and little sampled vocals and things like that sort of getting chopped up a million ways doesn't super appeal to me. But I queued up the album. I had a long drive to make on Monday, and so I did. I queued up the album, and it sounded fine to me. It sounded good. Eric indicated he thought it was good driving music, and I would agree. But as far as making a connection, looking at it, and when I had listened to it in the car, I thought I had looped it because I started to hear a song that I had heard already. And it turns out that the CD version of Tweakend had a hidden track at the end that was the name of the game. Again, it was apparently a remix on the Apple streaming service, which is what I'd listened to it through. It included the song, but called it the name of the game Reprise. And so this isn't necessarily a super great connection, because by its very nature as an unlisted track, it was unlisted. So it didn't have an official title that you can verify and refer to. And in some places it's called the name of the game Remix, and in some places it's called the name of the game Reprise. Now, generally speaking, a reprise is revisiting an earlier song. My kids, basically my whole family except for me, very into Broadway musicals. That shows up a lot on Broadway musical soundtracks, where they will briefly revisit a theme or a song from earlier in the show. And it occurs sometimes on records as well. But usually, in a case like Elbow, the song The Birds has a reprise. The original song is about 8 minutes long, and the reprise is about a minute and a half long. And usually that's how a reprise goes. But the Crystal Method, the name of the game, is actually a couple of seconds longer than the album version of the name of the game. And honestly, hearing them however long, 30 minutes apart, made this difficult to discern, because it kind of sounded like the same song to me. How it was different. But it's unusual that a reprise would be longer than the original song. But I found another album that, on the CD version again, it's interesting to me that Tweakend had a vinyl release, which was not a slam dunk for albums that came out in the era that was like late 90s, early 2000s. I forget the exact year, maybe 2001 on that Tweakend album. Certainly was not a slam dunk that there would be a vinyl release, but the bonus track was not on the vinyl release. And similarly with my Connection, it was not on the vinyl release of this album, But the CD had a reprise, and the reprise is actually a couple of minutes longer than the album version of the song. And the song is Roll Call, and the album is Deep, and the artist is Peter Murphy. I came to Peter Murphy after Love and Rockets. I think Love and Rockets was the first branch on the Bauhaus tree that I visited through their sort of dreamy psychedelic album Earth, Sun, Moon, where No New Tale to Tell was a big hit. And I think that was the first album I bought, and I bought several more Love and Rockets before ever really venturing into Bauhaus or Peter Murphy territory. I think I even had David J. solo album on cassette. And actually, I have a Daniel Ash CD that's up just over my head right now. But it took me a while to get to Peter Murphy because I found him sort of intimidating. He seems like he oozes disdain. There's something about the severity of his look that I had this feeling like if I had to, write the artist for permission to buy their stuff, he would just reject me outright, like I was nowhere near cool enough that he would want me as a fan. Deep was the first of his albums that I got. Maybe the only of his albums that I got. I own Love Hysteria, but I think that's one that my wife had. I like it. I'm not sure why or if there's any validity to my feeling that Peter Murphy sort of preemptively hates me. And weirdly, when you close your eyes and listen to his vocal, he's got a very deep voice. And it always makes you think of Neil Diamond, which I imagine is not a comparison he would care for, but he has a very Neil Diamond voice to me. But Roll Call is the last song on the regular album at 6.5 minutes, and then it immediately goes into an 8.5 minute reprise. So the last 15 minutes or so of this album is the song Roll Call in two different versions. The big hit was Cuts You Up, kind of a big cello featuring thing. But yeah, it's more sort of dark by reputation, and sort of the goth cloud that follows Peter Murphy around, just because he looks so angular and Dracula-eyed. Yeah, I don't know that this strikes me as a terribly gothy record, and yet it does, just sort of based on Peter Murphy's reputation. There's a beautiful song, Marlene Dietrich's favorite poem, is a lovely, relatively quiet acoustic moment. Strange Kind of Love, similarly. And it's got a couple of more pounding hits, but it's more mid-tempo, I think, in nature, or slower. With the exception maybe being Shy. And yeah, I don't know. A little scatterbrained. I apologize for that. This is one of those times that I took about 8 tries at getting started with this thing. So surely this is 5 minutes. But it's not as if I don't have anything to say. I just can't seem to put it into my head and bring it out of my mouth. So I will throw Peter Murphy's Deep from 1989 over to Eric, and you can look for his response next Monday on his channel. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.